Fire for your mind. The kosher clinician. Can the lack of feminine affection and deprivation cause a man to look for love abroad? It appears that in many circles and in many groups such as BMO and also Black Men's Travels, that because men feel that the relationships in America are not always the most suitable and the best due to sadness, disappointment, and anger, many men are looking abroad for interracial relationships or interethnic relationships. And in those pursuits, those men are hoping to find feminine women that can give them the regard and the love and the respect that they so deserve. I told you in the past that a broken man is a hopeless man, and a hopeless man is a dangerous man. And because of that, many men have been broken to the point of despair that they're beginning to explore their options abroad. I want you guys to enjoy this show by Sorrel Bay and I as we explore the after effects of a toxic mom and how that impacts a man in a negative way. And I want you guys to ask yourself the question, have you been impacted by a toxic mom? Have you been impacted by toxic women? And if you have you decided to find love in other women with a culture that are more balanced and fair, with the understanding that women can be universally the same at their core nature? Be well and enjoy the show.
We from the old school, don't let them rope you. You running things, stay in your lane, wishing to smoke you. We from the old school, don't let them rope you. You running things, stay in your lane, wishing to smoke you.
Grenade à la sauce, ça qui mourit, ça fait ailleurs. Grenade à la sauce, ça qui mourit, ça fait ailleurs.
That you mentioned that men will travel abroad to go and find perhaps more feminine women or maybe get out of the circle that they're in because this is something that they look for naturally. I know that in Montreal, Quebec, and I don't have any stats on this, when we look, so just observing some of the relationship patterns that we're seeing, there's a lot of interracial dating. And not to say that there's anything wrong with it. But one of my sisters and I had a chance to, she's a hairdresser, shouts out to Storm. And so she does locks. So there's a lot of young men who will come in to get their hair done. And as the amazing hairdresser and therapist that she is, she asks them a lot of questions. And something that keeps coming back is the fact that they do not wish to date Black women. Some of them have never tried. Some of them have never even been in relationships with Black women, but just by observing the Black women around them who follow popular culture and or toxic mothers, toxic behavior that is being normalized, automatically those young men are like, nope, I don't do Black women. I don't know if this is something that you also encounter in the States, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's simple. They said that some of our women are mean. They're very masculine. And so the masculine and the feminine are actually complements of one another. But if the only thing you're used to is a very violent and angry Black woman, then, it repels the masculine. That's why, once again, when men are around very feminine women, it's very hypnotic. It's almost like an aphrodisiac because they're not used to it. And so a lot of times, Sorrel, what happens when men travel abroad, I might be going back to Brazil soon. I'm going to be in a movie called Frustrated 3, and the name of the group, the travel group that I'm in is called the Black Man Options. And so, we travel, we're part of the passport game, but I'm actually going back for a movie that I'm going to be in called Frustrated 3. And so a lot of times what happens, Sorrel, when they come back, it's very cathartic. Some of these men actually cry on their way back home.
Wow. Because
they're not used to that pure feminine energy. It's very hypnotic when a man experiences it because they're not used to it. Imagine you dealt with toxic moms that were broken. You go with a toxic wife that's been broken. And some of it, Sorrel, is a byproduct of a condition called vicarious trauma because she got with a man that was goofy and ignorant. He was dusty,
I love that about you. The words are like, boom, boom.
That's that Leo swag. You and I got something in common. We're both fire signs, but we're very blunt. But, he was goofy and ignorant, and so she chose Raekwon and Man over a decent man. So a lot of times our women choose swag over substance, right? And when they choose swag over substance, it's to their own chagrin. And so, that woman is living through vicarious trauma because a lot of times they'll say, I'm strong and independent and I don't need a man. But see, here's the conundrum. Strong and independent is really synonymous with saying independent and self-sufficient are really correlates on one another. It's really the same thing. But it's one thing to say I'm going to be soft and self-sufficient until I get my man versus saying I'm strong and independent and I don't need a man. And so that's a thinking error, Sorrel, the minimization of the man and the magnification of her own self-worth. And a lot of it is because these women are fragile and they are vulnerable and they don't want to feel vulnerable. So they pull up a hard wall and a hard exterior. Yes. And so a lot of it because they saw their moms with that hard wall and hard exterior and they don't know how to be feminine. Some of them want to be feminine, but they just don't know how to do it. And so we go to this continual cycle of deprivation where boys are not given the love and the admonition. They're not exonerated. And so once again, we tend to create the men that the women actually hate because women like masculine men that say what they mean what they say, and they stand on their convictions. Yeah,
and sometimes it's a thin line because the proper, respectful, quote unquote, nice guy won't necessarily display the some masculinity traits that we have been used to, we've been introduced to that are not necessarily masculine, right? Masculine comes with action, comes with like respect, a certain standard. Masculine men have a way to carry themselves and there's nothing toxic about it. But a lot of times it's the same principle for me as mixing up confidence and how do you call it? I'm losing my word, arrogance. So sometimes those two are get mixed up, but they are completely different. Confidence means like you're very secure in yourself and your character, you know who you are, and you're respectful. But arrogance is just, it comes from insecurity. So I think a lot of times
that's true.
People don't. So I think it's the same thing with the nice guy versus the bad boy thing. As a lot of young women fell for that character. And then just like you said, they end up with broken men who break them if they were already broken before, right? And then just that cycle keeps happening.
This is a banger.
We from the old school, don't let them rope you. You running things, ain't your lane, what's your view?
Je vise la maîtrise, pas ta maîtresse, sugar.